His eyes still shut, the dormouse clumsily held out the teapot. I started to worry as the teapot shook in his hand. Come, sit. Some tea. At that moment, the dormouse's chin hit the tabletop. The teapot he was offering suddenly fell over in a dramatic display. Hot water flew everywhere, and the Hatter jumped to his feet. I narrowly managed to avoid getting scolded, only because the Cheshire Cat grabbed me by the back of my collar to avoid the hot water. He's so cool. He's my best buddy right there. Though it did choke me a bit. The guilty dormouse didn't get splashed at all and snored quietly on top of the table. So we're looking for the White Rabbit. Do you know anything about where he is? I asked the Hatter while coughing. Yeah, the rabbit came here. The Hatter replied, bored, as he shifted in his hat. He tried to pick up the teacup that was filled to the brim, but it was all for naught as the tea came spilling over the edge. Really? When? I leaned forward. Just now. Quite a while ago. The Hatter and the Dormouse replied in unison. Which is it? Just before it became 3 o'clock. The Hatter seemed to have given up on the picking up the teacup. He left it on the table and lapped sips from the cup like a dog. Okay. So it's just turned 3 o'clock, but it has been quite some time since it turned 3 o'clock. So if the White Rabbit came here just before it turned 3 o'clock, that means he was just here but quite some time ago. This is confusing. And then, do you know which way he went? That way. As he pointed, the Dormouse nodded off. His small front limbs flopped onto the table with a thud. The Hatter grabbed his limbs and used them to point off to the side. The Hatter grabbed his limbs and used them to point off to the side. I looked where he pointed and saw a beautiful gate covered in roses. Ooh. So pretty. And they're blue. It was the gate to the rose garden inside the park. The arch at the entrance was covered with white rambler roses. As I recall, the rose garden was established several years ago as part of the city's afforestation plan. I had never gone inside before. Normally, the gate was locked and only opened during the flower blooming season, but right now the gate was wide open. Thank you, both of you. I'm going to go inside. I ran toward the gate to the rose garden. Alice, To the Cheshire Cat shouted after me. He sounded unusually tense. Huh? What? Ouch. Before I could turn around, pain filled my right arm. What is this? A rose vine was wrapped around my right arm. It coiled tightly around my arm like a snake. The thorns pierced my flesh. Ow! I watched as my right arm became soaked with blood. Stop, let go. Ignoring me, the rose vines pulled me with its incredible strength. A vine reached for my neck. I tried desperately to avoid it, but the more I struggled, the more thorns tore my skin. Unable to bear it any longer, I shouted for help. Asked the Hatter, asked the Dormouse, or asked the Cheshire Cat. Well, the Cheshire Cat's always had my back, so we're gonna go with that. Cheshire Cat, help me. The Cheshire Cat ran over without making such as a sound. He was so quiet and quick, it almost seemed like he had teleported. And with his sharp claws, he quickly scratched his arms. Red blood suddenly began to pour. What did you do that to your arm? For a moment, I thought the Cheshire Cat had gone crazy. But then the vine wrapped around my arm began to loosen. A few vines let go of my arm and went for the Cheshire Cat instead. No, he's doing a sacrifice. The Cheshire Cat ignored the rose vines that were coiling around him and started peeling off the vines that still stubbornly clung to me. The pain of my skin being torn made me scream. When I was finally free from the roses, I rolled onto the ground. The roses had lost all interest in me. They had new prey now, the Cheshire Cat, who was being ensnared by the vines faster than I was. I should have said one of the other ones, like the Dormouse. Cheshire Cat. Oh, this could be bad, said the Hatter in an unconcerned tone. The story goes that the cats are the roses. Favorite food. Personally, I'd rather eat Alice. What the fuck? I'm too scared to touch the Cheshire Cat anyway, the Hatter continued nonchalantly. I need to do something. Reaching toward the tabletop, I quickly picked up the knife. What are you gonna do with the vase? Reaching toward the tabletop, I quickly picked up the knife. I'm going to take this too. Okay? I said as I grabbed the quiet quilted tea cozy. I'll grab the white quilted tea cozy. You can't, the Hatter screamed at me, but I didn't pay attention. Covering my hands with this tea cozy like safely gloves, I grabbed the root of the vine that was attacking the Cheshire Cat. I tried to cut the vine with what was effectively a butter knife, but to no avail. A few rose vines started to coil around me again, but I didn't mind. Frantically, I started sawing the vines with the knife and began cutting them down one by one. The rose vines fell to the ground, withering. Where the vines had been cut, a thick red liquid poured out. Blood? A shiver went down my spine. Okay. We'll save this. Okay. The formerly gray Cheshire Cat now had a red and gray mottled coat. You really are an idiot, Alice. What? White roses drink blood. Everyone knows that. Alice, it's just common sense. White roses drink blood and turn red. The Dormouse muttered sleepily. I turned around and saw that the white roses had turned light pink. Blood turns the roses red. This is the first I've heard of it. But I couldn't bring myself to argue. I'm sorry, Cheshire Cat. Alice, it's not good for you to cry for me. The Cheshire Cat flashed his usual thin smile. That's right, stupid Alice. You've disrupted the natural order of things. Go suck a dick, little boy. The Hatter shouted incompressibly as he shook the tea in his cup. Your injuries, I need to tend to them. As I said that, I began to shake. That was scary. If I lost the Cheshire Cat, I wouldn't have any other allies. And then at that moment, the Cheshire Cat suddenly grabbed my wrist with his bloodied hand. What? I felt my wrist get hot in the tight grip. Hey. I tried to ask what's wrong, but instead I swallowed my breath. For just a moment, the Cheshire Cat's face looked like it had warped. Huh? I rubbed my eyes. Is something wrong, Alice? The Cheshire Cat asked, then he let go of my hand. I stared at the Cheshire Cat as if I were trying to burn a hole through him. There's nothing. There's no sign that anything changed. No, it's nothing. It must have been my imagination. I finally noticed that I had stopped shivering. Still, I am upset. However, it's okay now. Hey, Hatter, do you have any bandages? Of course not. Do you need bandages at a tea party? Use your brain. Well, I guess that makes sense. Then can I have that napkin? You can have it, R. Alice. The Dormouse offered the napkin from the table sitting next to him. No napkins are a must for a tea party. He kind of looks like a Teletubby, so. But before the Hatter could intervene, the napkin was in my hands. Cheshire Cat, let's go clean your hands. That won't be necessary. After he said that, the Cheshire Cat began licking the red stains on his robes. Okay. Oh, right. He's a cat. Wait here. I ran over to the park's water fountain and began to wash the blood off of my arms. The cuts were painful, but they looked worse than they really were. If I leave them alone, they'll stop bleeding. I soaked the napkin in water and wrung it out. Then I returned to the Cheshire Cat. I wiped the parts that I thought the Cheshire Cat would have trouble reaching. You should lick them too, Alice. I don't lick wounds. I'm not a cat. Cat blood is delirious. I said I'm not going to lick them. Stop being a creep. The Cheshire Cat seemed like he wanted to lick my wounds too, but I politely declined. Alice, still sleeping, the Dormouse handed something to me. It was a bandage made from a torn napkin. I thought I saw the Hatter muttering to himself as he made something to the Dormouse's specification. It seemed he was making a bandage. For me? Thank you. I pet the Dormouse's head, and he contorted his body in pleasure. I'm the one who made it. The Hatter slapped away my hand. Okay, thank you too, Hatter. I poked his silk hat, but the Hatter just definitely turned his head away. Alright, until next time, stay twisted.